The 5 and the 12 were the dominant cars. And even the 20 car had won those 3 races. The last 2 races, he's not even been in the race.
They just about could have got the 5 car for the Martinsville rule as much as he used the wall to make him turn and everything.
That's a good racetrack, though. The track's wore out. And if you notice, people run low in the middle, and some of them are running high. Once they made their last pit stop, then that's where the race really developed. I don't look right with papers.
No.
He looks good with it.
Yeah, I know, but he's kind of slow.
You're going to tell us when we screwed up enough, and we'll start about, where do we go, Martinsville? Okay, after that, okay.
If you want to.
Whatever you want to do.
Well,
If you just get tired of talking, just go into Martinsville.
okay, just
I'm
everyone.
tired of talking.
Okay,
We're going to Martinsville.
yeah, but we're going to talk about Homestead.
Oh, Homestead?
Yeah. Okay. Richard, yesterday would have been a good time to been at the racetrack because most of the racing was in the back of the pack, wasn't it?
They raced back there. I mean, unreal how much. The leaders all got out and got gone, and then probably the ones that was racing was maybe half quarter lap behind. And I mean, they done some racing back there.
Well, that's what I was getting at. But television, they only keep up with the front runners, you know what I mean? But when it gives the distance and the times and the position.
The deal is that the spectators don't really get to see where the guys is really racing. Of course, everybody wants to know who's up front and stuff, but them guys that's running 10th or 15th or even 20th, I mean, they racing their guts out. It ain't getting nowhere, but they race, man.
But it was somewhat a clean race, Richard, as much as the cars slid around and everything. You know, didn't nobody actually run over nobody. Of course, they did in the pits. You know, it's normal. But
no, there was a couple of spins on. I think one coming in the race, coming in the pits. He spun the 99,
and then the 20
they by himself, and then somebody spun by themselves. But you know, I watched the race and you watched how they run and stuff, and the 5 and the 12 were the dominant cars, okay? And, you know, I got to looking at the deal, and last week the 21 car really outrun everybody. Man, he ran up, 21st or something? I mean, he goes from first to, you know, and even the 20 car had won those 3 races. The last 2 races, he's not even been in the race.
Yeah,
that's how fickle these cars are. You know, I mean, it's just unreal.
But you know, there's so many questions, Richard. You know, but you said it that the 12 car might have been a touch better than the 5. I'm not sure.
That would have been a pretty good race.
Yeah.
Because what happened was, I mean, even when they first started off on green and stuff, like the 23 got out there, got out front. Another one got out front, and they run for a while, and then the ones behind tires didn't go away quite as quick as the ones up front. Man, when they got them, they didn't even race with them. They just pulled out and passed them.
Once
that's a good racetrack. The track's wore out, and if you notice, people running low in the middle, and some of them are running high. I thought the race would be after watching. The truck race and the finish race, I thought they'd run up high, but nobody was really making that much really good time up high. It looked like the middle of the racetrack was probably as good as anyone.
They just about could have got the 5 car for the Martinsville rule as much as he used the wall to make him turn and everything. But it was amazing that as much as he hit the wall, and didn't get it dug in. You know,
that's the deal with these plastic cars or whatever. They give you that advantage that a metal car wouldn't. You know, it'd be in the fender and then he's out of luck. But the biggest excitement was when the 21 pulled out and ran into the 4 car, and then the 22 got caught, and I'm glad we wasn't in the pits on that particular deal. And they was lucky that everybody had done left, and there was no guys on pit road.
Over the pit wall. Right. I was going to comment on that. Yeah. That was really, really lucky that nobody got hurt there. But I'm going to bring up the best strategy move that I thought of the day, and it could have paid off somewhat. But when the 77,
Stayed out.
but the caution come out with 6 laps to the stage, so everybody come in and got tires, and he didn't abuse his and then stayed out. And I thought that was a good move, and it gained him a lot of track position.
Well, it gained
and
him
then
up,
he had
and
trouble.
I guess he started first, and they 3 or 4 of them. He wound up 7th and just steady. Once he got into 7th, his tires was as good as anybody else's, and he stayed there. And then I think they had ignition problems or something.
Yeah, he didn't. But Lord have mercy, I don't believe I've seen a car blow harder than that.
When that 12 blew, it blew it all
Richard,
over.
he's done it twice this year.
Yeah,
and it's cost him big time in the points and wins maybe.
He's been pretty good everywhere he's been.
Yep.
In other words, he's been in the top 2 or 3 every race they've been, and hadn't finished a single race. But if they ever get it all together where he can finish the races, then they'll be in pretty good shape because the cars are running good. And, he drives the far out of it.
Of course, me and you kept up with the 43, and he come on pretty good at the last stage, Richard. I don't know whether they done anything or not, but he was back there racing, and he beat some good cars, and he was racing some good cars, but he finished 15th. And I don't know where that ain't good, but
they run
better
back
than
like 25th, I guess, for the majority of the race. And at the end of the race, I don't know if he picked up any or some of the rest of them slowed down. And he worked his way up to 15th, and he could run faster than the guys up front from time to time. If he was in clear air and they was in clear air, the car ran pretty good. But for some reason or another, he's not figured out how to race with these people, or the cars just go all to pieces when they get close together. Or his car
don't let him do it.
And the cars won't let him do what he needs to do. And somewhere down the line, he's got to learn, or the crew's got to learn to make that a little bit better. Because if he could race with those people a little bit better, the cars are not that bad. We're from last year to this year, we've improved a little bit, even though he's fell out a bunch of races because of wrecks and stuff. But they've been running, probably 5 or 6 positions better all during the race. So we are a little bit better this year. We're just not finishing that much better.
Yeah, the stats don't show it, but Lord have mercy, wouldn't there a bunch of new paint schemes on these cars?
Oh, gosh, I can't keep up with nothing. I mean, they look like they just take about 14 kinds of colors of paints and then just paint a little here and paint a little there and paint a little there. I think NASCAR needs to say, okay, guys, y'all got to have a blue car or a green car or a purple car or something, because I don't know how the fans keep up with their favorite drivers. The 5-car holds, he keeps his paint scheme probably pretty much the same. The 22 does most of the time, and there's maybe a couple, 3 others.
Does he with the,
21 car,
yeah.
So you can keep up with that. But even our cars, they go from green one week to black one week to something else, and I have to get my scorecard out.
But we're consistent with the sponsors, Dollar Tree and Family Dollar, and that's pretty big.
Well, that's good, but they changed from one car to another, and
the
they
color
changed their paint schemes too.
Yeah.
It was just basically a pretty good race, okay? And nobody knew who was going to win it until the last of the last run. Once they made their last pit stop, then that's where the race really developed. Because it's just like any rest of the deals. You run a segment, and then the next segment's completely different than the segment before, and then the next segment's a little bit different, and then the race really starts once they make their last pit stop.
But evidently the tire was pretty soft, and then it give up so much. I just wonder if they started with a real hard tire, and it didn't give up as much, and it didn't stick to start with. What kind? But that's
that's run slow to begin with and run slow the whole race.
That's what I'm saying. But
that's somebody else's decision.
Yeah. But it second 2/10 lead at the finish, that's still pretty close, Richard. And
Yeah,
how
but
many
he
cars?
was running off and leaving them pretty good. You know what I mean?
26 cars on the lead lap. Yeah, he was in his zone when it was all over.
Yeah, but he's been good. And like I say, him and the 12 car has been pretty good
Consistently.
even though he hadn't maybe like a couple of weeks ago when it was in Vegas anyhow. You know, he ran pretty good up front, but then when he got back there in the back, he couldn't go. Now, he couldn't gain anything. But this past Sunday, the way the tire deal was and stuff, then he got back a little bit, but he was able to run them all down.
That one's behind us, and we got a close to home race coming, Richard, and we'll try to make that Sunday at Martinsville.
It'll be a completely different deal. Martinsville, they put 36 cars on a half-mile track, and they got cars all the way around. So, and it's almost impossible to pass there because these guys have got no horsepower again, and it just makes it a bent, like a bowling deal. You know, just kind of have to knock them out of the way from time to time.
But you know, you've won up there 15 times, but just think about they're going up there this race 36. I don't know how many cars at least 36. Mm-hmm. And they're going to be shifting gears, Richard. Can you imagine that?
Hey, I didn't have time to put on the brakes and turn the deal.
Well, you probably didn't know the gear pattern either, probably,
No.
but that's one thing.
I'd have probably scraped the gears in.
But, you know, we're looking forward to Martinsville, and it's one of our favorites, and it was one of yours. And so we'll just comment on it next week and hope the fans enjoy it, and I hope we have a good run.
We'll go see what's happening this week. You know, I don't really know. I look at him and I see how Kyle Busch developed. Okay, I'm putting him in. I can't go further back with Pearson or Allison or any of them guys because none of them run like they did. But of the new crowd that's coming through, I see him coming through and maybe developing the same way as what Busch did.
Well, I'm going to go back further than that. I think I'm going to put him in the category with Cale because Cale tried to run hard every lap, and I think Larson does too.
Basically, the only time we really done a lot of work on the right rear was when we were in Darlington, and when they had that one groove race deal. Dale and them, they put some roll bars back on the right rear corner of the thing, and you could hit it pretty good. And then Dale would cheat a little bit; he'd cut the fender a little bit, so that if it did hit, it would flop a little bit. So that's what we done at Darlington, but that's the only place.
Yeah, we enforced some stuff where he could even in the right front too, Richard. But we still got brackets in that car down there in the museum where we bolted them in for Darlington, and but I think it's 1963. Before the race, I just cut the fender up on each side. Then before I tried to change tires the first time, I just turned it wrong side out, or where the fender wouldn't bother me when he did hit the wall.
Well, the season started kind of slow, basically. I think the cars are running a little bit better than they did last year, but our finishes has been really bad. The 42 had a couple of good finishes right at the beginning of the season, and they've had kind of a backwards deal. Last year, the 42 got in wrecks the first 4 or 5 races. This year, the 43 got in wrecks 4 or 5 races, so they kind of changed positions in that. But I think it's going to settle down now.
Yeah, I think they're making some grounds, but everybody are connected. Some of the smaller teams are connected to the big teams and getting their information. And the 43, if he'd have qualified like he did two previous races that would have helped him. But one thing I want to bring up about Homestead that I didn't. The 21 car, when he won, he didn't do a burnout, but Larson made up for it Sunday.
It would have been interesting. Okay. You know, people don't understand. There's no way to compare what happened 20 years ago to what happened today from the driver's standpoint. The cars are completely different. All these guys grew up under different circumstances. Now, you know, if you put him back in our crowd and he grew up in that environment, then he would probably fit in pretty good. Him or Bush, you know, but the majority of them wouldn't fit into that category.
Yeah, Richard said it, you know, there's just no comparison. There's no way in the world to compare today's world against yesterday's world. But the handicap he would have, he's got the skills and the heart and everything for it, like all the drivers have had. But his physical status his size just wouldn't let him drove some of them monsters with no power steering. There's just no way.